This is Act 4, Scene 2. It's a very short scene, but it's a very important scene because this is the action that follows from Macbeth's horrible decision about Macduff killing his wife and children that we saw at the end of Scene 1. So we start out in the castle of Macduff. This is in Fife. Remember, Macduff has said a couple of times to connect that setting when he was asked, "Are you going to Scone to see Macbeth crowned?" He said, "No, cousin, I'll to Fife. I will go home to Fife," where he is the Thane of Fife. So Fife is Macduff's castle, and we see Lady Macduff, her son, and then Ross. Now, Ross has been around through all of this, but Ross is there at Macduff's castle. Lady Macduff says, what had he done to make him fly the land? So clearly Ross has just told him Macduff has gone away. He can't tell him why, can't tell her why. And that's important because even Ross knows you don't tell too much information. That too much information in this particular kind of setting where the king has become a tyrant and people are dying left and right who get in his way, you just don't share too much information. So he's just having to say, you must have patience, madam. I can't really tell you all of that, but you must have patience and trust me. And she said, well, he had none. He had no patience. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors. When our actions don't make us traitors, when we don't do something betraying somebody, then our fears. He must have been afraid. He fled. He was afraid and left us here defenseless and alone. Ross says, you don't know that. You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear. You don't know whether it was something that he knows, and so that's why he fled, or if he was afraid. We just don't know. Ross does know, but of course he can't tell Lady Macduff. Lady Macduff is furious. Wisdom? To leave his wife? To leave his babes? His mansion and his titles? In a place from whence himself does fly? He loves us not. He wants the natural touch. He lacks the natural touch. For the poor affection and love for them. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her young ones in the nest against the owl. Even a little wren, the lowest of the birds, if they're being threatened by an owl, will fight to protect the babes, the birds in the nest, the little birds. All is the fear and nothing is the love. His leaving us is all about himself and not about us at all. As little is the wisdom where the flight so runs against all reason. He doesn't know anything. He's just afraid and he's left us. Ross says, my dearest, because I pray you, school yourself. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the fits of the season. Trust him, Lady Macduff. He's a smart man. I dare not speak much further. I can't tell you any more. But cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves. In other words, we don't know who among us is a traitor. We don't know. From the very moment that all of this began in Macbeth's castle, we don't know who to trust. When we hold rumour from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea each way and move. He's calling Scotland at this point a wild and violent sea. We heard that at the end of Act 3, that it was under a hand accursed. So Scotland it's in a horrible state right now in this violence. He says, I take my leave of you, shall not be long, but I'll be here again. It won't be long, I'll come back. Things at the worst will cease. I promise you, Lady Macduff, we're going to get this under control and things are going to get better. Or else climb upward to where they were before. Back when Duncan was our king and things were good, we're going to get back to that, I promise. My pretty cousin, blessing upon you. Lady Macduff, fathered he is, and yet he's fatherless. Talking about her son, who is there, looking at him. He has a father, but he's fatherless now, because my husband has abandoned us. Ross says, I am so much a fool, yet should I stay longer, it would be my disgrace and your discomfort. I take my leave at once. I've just got to leave at this point. It's going to become uncomfortable. Lady Macduff turns to her son and she says, your father's dead. And what will you do now? how will you live? Now, this is an interesting thing to turn to a little boy and say, your father's dead, in such a crass and cruel and hard manner like that. She's angry. She knows he's not literally dead, but he's dead to them. He may as well be dead because he's not there to protect them. This little boy is quite precocious, and his answers are quite clever. And so as an audience, we are going to like this little boy for the cleverness that he uses in his answers. And she says, how will you live? And he says, well, as birds do, Mother. And she said, what? With worms and flies? And he says, with what I get, I mean, and so do they. Poor bird, thou'st never fear the net nor lime, the pitfall near the gin. You, in other words, you don't even know what to be afraid of. And he says, why should I, Mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead, for all your saying. She says, yes, he is dead. How wilt thou do for a father? He is dead. Now, how are you going to get along without a father? And he says, nay, how will you do for a husband? Throws it right back at her, this clever little boy. And she says, why, I can buy me 20 in any market. He says, then you'll buy 'em to sell 'em again. Thou speaks with all thy wit, and yet in faith with wit enough for thee. Was my father a traitor, Mother? Aye, that he was. What is a traitor? Why, one that swears and lies. Now, you see what she's just said? She says, your father is a traitor because he lied to me. He's gone. I don't know why he's gone. And the son says, well, and be all traitors that do so. She says, everyone that does so is a traitor and must be hanged. And he says, and must they all be hanged that swear and lie? Everyone? Well, who must hang them? Why, the honest men. And then the liars and swearers are fools, for there are liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang up them. See how clever he is? He turns that back around. And she says, now God help thee, poor monkey, but how wilt thou do for a father? Well, if he were dead, you'd weep for him. If you would not, it were a good sign that I should quickly have a new father. Look how clever he is again. He's saying, I know he's not dead because you'd be crying. And if you're not crying, it means that you're not so sad he's gone because there's somebody waiting in the wings. A messenger comes in. This messenger is just there to say, I have news. I'm telling you, this is a horrible, horrible news, but you need to leave. You need to get gone. There is danger approaching. If you will take a homely man's advice, be not found here. Hence, with your little ones, to fright you thus, methinks I am too savage. To do worse to you were fell cruelty, which is too nigh your person. Heaven preserve you. I dare abide no longer. You need to go. I'm out of here. I'm advising you to take your son, take your children, and leave. And she says, whither should I fly? Where? Whither means where. Where should I fly? Where should I go? I have done no harm. But I remember now I am in this earthly world, where to do harm is often laudable, to do good sometime accounted dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm? She says, oh, well, you know, how silly of me to say, why should I run because I haven't done anything? That's a womanly thing. There you go. A womanly thing, a weak kind of thing. I live in a world where that doesn't make any sense. And so how silly of me to think that. And then apparently then she sees these strange faces appearing in her room because she says, what are these faces? They're murderers who've come in. Macbeth is either using the same murderers or at least the same technique that he did with Banquo, where he has hired people to go and do his bidding for him, his killing for him, so that blood is no longer on his hands. Remember, he didn't like that blood on his own hands. The first murderer, where is your husband? She says, I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayest find him. I hope he's not in a holy place where you will find him. The first murderer says he's a traitor. The son is defending his father. Thou liest, thou shag-eared villain. The first murderer says, what? You egg? Egg meaning an offspring. And he kills that little boy right there. And says, young fry of treachery. The little boy looks at his mother. He's killed me, mother. And then Lady Macduff runs crying murder, the murderers follow her. It's very clear then that she will die too. Now, why do we even have this scene? Why did Shakespeare include a scene that we get to see this little boy being murdered on stage? We've not seen any of the murders on stage. This is the first murder that we actually see on stage. Everything else has been taking place off stage. So why did Shakespeare do this? Do you like this little boy? Mm-hmm. Do you like Lady Macduff? Mm-hmm. When we meet them face to face, the murder is that much more horrific. So if it's like this, I come into class and I say, there's been a terrible accident on the interstate, and a man and his son were killed. And you say, oh, that is really terrible. I hate to hear about accidents like that. But it doesn't stab you in any place that causes pain. I come into class and I say, there was an accident on Interstate 26 at the Peak exit. And a teacher at Chapin and her son that she was taking on the way to school were killed. All right, that's a little bit worse. That's a little closer to home. You still don't know those people, but you can feel it a little more. Now contrast that with you are driving by on the other side of the interstate. You see that accident happen. You see that mother. You see that child. You witness the death. Your response is a totally different response. Shakespeare was a master of understanding human nature. He showed us that murder so that we as the audience would have a more visceral response, a more gut-wrenching response. We already don't like Macbeth, but now we are filled with the same hatred for him that the people of Scotland were filled with. And we feel it as they feel it. We have moved from sympathy, a little bit of understanding and distrust, dislike for Macbeth, sympathy for the people, to now we are part of the people. That's what good writing does. That's why we keep reading Shakespeare, for techniques just like that. If you aspire to be a writer, take note of that. When you bring those situations in to your reader and they see it, we know that little boy now. We know Lady Macduff now. And that death is personal.